Hello, I'm Ryan Liberty, and in this video I'm going to talk about what is social anxiety disorder. Let's find out. Okay, we're ready to tackle this question. What is social anxiety disorder? But first, before I get to that, I just have a little blurb I gotta say, which is that this is not diagnostic criteria that I'm discussing in this video, so this information is not to be used to diagnose yourself or somebody else. This is merely a quick little description to point you in the direction of if this is something that's happening in your life or the life of a loved one. And this label of social anxiety disorder, also known sometimes as social phobia, if that label for some reason doesn't feel good to you, if it feels like it doesn't aid in your healing in any way, if it's just too much to take on that label, let the label go. It's not necessary. It's really just to point you in the direction of what we're talking about here. So what is social anxiety disorder? Well, I've got my notes here to help me give you some good, correct information. So it is something that's different from normative shyness. We got to make that distinction first. There is a character trait of shyness, which is normative, which means it's fairly normal. And that's okay. But social anxiety disorder is different from that, and we should be aware of the differences. So let's discuss what distinguishes social anxiety disorder from normal shyness. Well, social anxiety disorder, it is comprised of a feeling of anxiety in social situations whenever you feel like you could be evaluated or judged by somebody else. So in a crowded situation, it could be you're sitting down to eat, you could be out in a parking lot, you could be at a party, it could be when you're giving a speech. Any of these situations where you feel like somebody could be watching you, looking at you, evaluating you, judging you, that's when social anxiety pops up in social anxiety disorder. And you have a fear that you're going to behave in a way that's going to be judged negatively or poorly. So in the case of eating, maybe, if what you're eating, you're afraid somebody's going to see it and judge you for what you're eating. If you're giving a speech, you're afraid that you may say too many times like I do. And that can cause you a lot of stress and a lot of fear. It could be just, being out in public, being afraid of what people might think about what you're dressed, how you walk, any of these kinds of little things that would happen in public or in a social situation where you're afraid that somebody could be evaluating or judging you. That's when social anxiety disorder comes into play. Typically, you will either avoid those situations or you will endure them with great anxiety, and it's the anxiety that cues you into the fact that this is this disorder. You have to be aware that this fear is out of proportion to what a normal person would feel. The regular, average, everyday person would feel in this situation. So, everyday average person going to the store probably isn't going to bother them too much. Somebody with social anxiety, it's a big deal. They feel it, they're afraid. So that's how you know it's out of proportion to what a regular, everyday person experiences in that situation. It's something that goes on for 6 months or more, so it's, you can have temporary anxiety as a result of something like trauma or other things going on in your life, particular stresses, but to be the disorder, it has to be more than 6 months. It impairs in your social, occupational, or daily life functioning, so it makes it hard to do your day-to-day things. It makes it hard to just go to the store, or it makes it hard to have a meeting if you're a manager in a company or something. It interferes in your daily life. It is not something that's better explained by a medical disorder or a different mental disorder, so you got to be aware of that. Performance anxiety is a form of social anxiety, but it's a very specific form of that, which only shows up when you're speaking in public or speaking in front of a crowd or speaking in front of a group of people. And performance anxiety only occurs when it's something that interferes in your daily functioning. So if you don't find yourself regularly needing to get up in front of people and talk, then you probably don't have performance anxiety, because it's not something that would interfere with what's going on in your life. But if you regularly have to give speeches as a part of your job, then you may have performance anxiety, which would be classified under social anxiety disorder. And the good news is there are many ways to treat this. There is cognitive behavioral therapy. There's also group therapy, as well as you could use beta blockers, antidepressants, benzodiazepines. Really just see a professional and they will put together a treatment program for you. And it's always good to be involved in that program so that you can give feedback and let them know whether or not it's helping. So what does it feel like having social anxiety disorder? Well, first, you're going to have a ton of symptoms that are going on in your body. The most characteristic of this disorder is blushing and feeling embarrassed. So you'll blush. You do things like shake, sweat, you'll have nausea, chest pain. All of the stuff that comes with anxiety is going to show up in social anxiety disorder. So muscle tension, tingling in your fingers and toes, trouble breathing, dizziness, hot and cold flashes. All of those kinds of things will happen when you are in a social situation. In your head, the thoughts that go around are typically negative thoughts about yourself. So you're thinking, I'm so dumb, I don't do things right, I'm boring, no one's gonna like me, they're watching me, what am I doing here? They're gonna look at me and they're gonna think that I'm stupid, that kind of stuff. All negative and all directed towards the self. And there's always kind of like a little bit of a wondering, like, are people staring at me? There's this feeling of attention towards yourself. Emotionally, it's really tough. You often feel very embarrassed because you feel like you're being judged all the time. You get very nervous. You get scared to go out into situations like this. You feel very ashamed. You feel very self-conscious. Often it comes with a low self-esteem, and that can lead to feelings of sadness because it feels like you can't function the way that everybody else can in normal situations. Now, behaviorally, there's a lot of different ways this shows up. In children, typically it's clinging, crying, freezing, or tantrums. So lots of different ways it can show up in children. For adults, you typically stay at home more often, or if you haven't moved out from your parents' place, you still continue to live with them further into adulthood than the average person would. You'll avoid situations or endure them with great anxiety, including, one particular example is dating. Maybe a tough one for people with social anxiety disorder, so you may go out and date because you feel like you need to or you want to, but then while you're there, it's hard. You feel very anxious. You avoid things that lead to specific symptoms. So if you have the symptom of sweating, for example, you may avoid spicy food because you know that makes you sweat, and then you feel like people are going to watch you. Or if you, maybe you get a little bit dizzy when you go on an amusement park ride, and you're afraid that if you do that, then people are going to see that you're dizzy and they're going to judge you for it, so you avoid the ride altogether. So anything that may bring upon a symptom that you think is going to draw attention to yourself, you'll avoid that. You may avoid public restrooms, which is called paruresis, which is something to be aware of. You typically will over-prepare for social situations compared to the average person. You'll make a big deal about getting ready, making sure you have enough time to prepare. You'll divert attention away from yourself whenever possible when you're in these situations. Avoid eye contact. And yet, some people may do a little bit of the opposite and instead dive right in and then over-control a conversation and try to manage it all from being the person who's in control. So, again, a variety of ways that social anxiety shows up. It's not an easy thing to deal with, so it's a great idea to seek help in any way that you can. I appreciate that you want to get to know more about this, so please do your homework and take a look and learn about it. And if you have any questions or concerns, comments, anything you want to say about this, please comment below and let me know. But thank you for joining me here to learn about it today. Hey, it's Ryan Liberty. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, share with a friend, and leave any questions or comments below because that would really help me out. If you find that you're stressed trying to achieve your goals, I have a free tool for you today that will help you get your goals done, so click to get that. And if you'd like to see the rest of my videos, click subscribe. As always, I want to remind you that your life matters. Nobody can question your worth. However it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you're going through, it's okay and you are loved. Thanks again for watching.